Welcome back to 1d plus 1 on the Leonor Orbs and Deming Stage Block 9 and Player's Handbook 1 and 2 type thing. That's version 3.5. Let's go ahead and get to it. Let's see here. The thing of that type thing, and that means, let's see. In that type of thing, your versus true strike type thing in that type of sense, versus, let's see, method B type thing or something like that. Almost like a Powerpuff Girls, like Chemical X type thing. And so, like, it could be X or it could be of something of truth in that type of setup. And so, from True Strike to Method B, or in that type of thing, from True Strike to a crossing route type thing in that type of sense. When I threw that crossing route, which is one of my best views, and I appreciate everybody viewing it type thing, it's a split back form type thing in that type of sense, much like the Saints do. I think it's from the Saints book, but I use it as the 49ers. You have the offensive line, that's 5 people, and that's a total of 5. And then in that type of thing, you've got 5 receivers type thing in that type of sense, that's 10 people, plus the quarterback, that's 11 people in your offense type thing in that type of sense. Just like a soccer field, like with both players on each side, which seems like 5 type thing that means. And in that type of thing, you've got 5, and then you've got the split backs type thing, and then a receiver, sometimes a tight end and another receiver, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers. Deep route, crossing route, and then fullback circles and halfback circles right there in that type of sense. And it's a lot for the defense to pass defend against versus a fast decider type thing, and that means. Could be the same spot over and over again, or couldn't be the same spot over and over again. Just don't know. In that type of thing, from that route type thing, this it was at the 50. I threw it once type thing there, and it scored a touchdown. That video of mine from Mario Manningham's crossing route has like 192 or 228 views, which for my self type thing, I guess, is a lot. You know, when you put up other videos and they've got 10 views type thing, and then you've got 228 views, that's a slight increase. So I knew I hit upon something type thing, and that means this part type thing, an AD&D type thing, and that's a system. That was a system type thing of football. Now it's a system of character design type thing in that type of sense. These things are kind of the same thing, except for now, rather than going for method A, the true strike type thing in the A team, you're going for method B of consistency, or an alternative method. Now the true strike one for the character I'm going to look at today is Decomposition. Decomposition is a nice spell type thing in that type of sense, where it's almost like playing in Wizards black-green deck type thing in that type of sense, where you rot the other opponent type thing, and cumulatively type thing, or sigma type thing in summation, it's 1 point, then 1 point, then another point, then 1 point type thing, kind of like fast healing. Then they forget about it type thing, and then they're taking damage from like long swords and arrows and things like that with the spell Decomposition type thing, and you add them together. And it just adds up to nice damage over time type thing in that type of sense. Now, in this type of thing, this became Druid type thing here, and now, much like an Ansoff Matrix type thing, there used to be a breakdown of the Druid type thing, and that means, and then slowly over time, this became nothing, and the only thing that you could write down was Decomposition True Strike. And that's not exactly what's going on. A Druid, now it's in the book type thing, there's the book here, and we're gonna turn the page type thing, and we could go to the classes type thing, there's attributes, there's the famous page 8 type thing in that type of sense here, and then we can go here, and we're going to keep turning type thing. That's past races type thing, that type of sense. We're not getting to that right now type thing because of complexity. But in that type of thing, there's the cleric type thing. There's the beginning of the druid, that's on page 33. And from there type thing, that's page 34. That's the druid of Vandalia type thing with their wolf. That's the animal companion type thing here, and through there on page 35. Now let's use the Ansoff Matrix type thing to break down. You could quicken books it type thing with the circle type thing and a learning blocks type thing, and with them stacked on top of each other type thing. It's very complicated. But in that type of thing, we're going to do like a window type thing, and a window can be circular. And that's 4 type thing in that type of sense. We're going to write Druid up at the top type thing. And in that means, now we've got 0, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells. Wouldn't believe it if I said it type thing. So one of the boxes type thing, we're going to write spells. Just like Nielsen Grass type thing, the astrologist, or Khan Academy type thing. And then we're going to break that down type thing. They've got an animal companion type thing. Now there's the animal companion in the first line, and that's 20 levels of character along the spine there type thing, near the book spine or book middle part type thing there. It's the spine on the outside and interior. That's level at the top type thing, which is the same as the spells per day, which is not. And that's level, that's 1 through 20 type thing in that type of sense. So you're like, okay, wait a minute here. Now my total summation of levels, I've got 20, and the animal companion only pops over on 1 type thing, so that's 1 out of 20. So now you turn the page from page 35, you're going to turn the page type thing in that type of sense. That's 36 type thing. This should be, that's Lockwood underneath type thing. That could be the name of the character type thing in that type of sense. And that's Torticure. That's the name of the character there type thing, as the dwarf, the one from D&D, PHB, PSA, Dungeons and Dragons, Player's Handbook, Public Service Announcement type thing. Let's take this over type thing. That's D&D, Dungeons, and for in type thing in that type of sense, like ampersand type thing. Let's hold on here. Man, let's go here. Ampersand type thing in that type of sense, or in with like the dash mark on it. Very, very complicated. Dungeons and Dragons, Players, and H, Handbook, and that's D, P, D, and D. Players, we're going to drop book and make it a separate word here. That's book, PHB, and then P, public, and then S, service, and then A, announcement. And that was very difficult. D&D, PHB, PSA type thing. Dungeons and Dragons, Player's Handbook, Public Service Announcement. Yeah. Now, if you want to fight that type thing in that type of sense, then you're probably going to win. But in that type of thing, that's its breakdown type thing. Now, from there, that's Druid spells type thing here. And now the Animal Companion, or summon 1 over 20 type thing. Or not summon. This is kind of a summon call to service type thing. Like a call to volunteer work or something like that, or like a JFK's, like what do you do for your country type thing. Ask not what your country's doing for you, but what you can do for your country. Yeah. And in that type of thing, that's Druid's Animal Companion type thing. There's class level 1 through 2nd, 3rd through 5th, 6th through 8th, in that type of thing. Let's see here, and that's 9th through 11th, and 12th through 14th, 15th through 17th, and 18th through 20th, and that's on page 36. The page after the Druid chart type thing. Abstract, kind of useless repeat body type thing, but here, and their useless repeat body gives you more information that was relevant to your animal companion. So in that type of thing, you have to keep reading. And there's a substitute list type thing for the animal companion type thing. Very complicated type thing. That's an even list. And that even list type thing in that type of sense. Let's say now you change out your creature for an 8 type thing. And in there, you had like some fill in the blanks type thing. Kind of like the Ansoff Matrix type thing in that type of sense. That's link share spells and evasion type thing for 3rd to 5th. Now, in that, that's evasion type thing. But your 8 just got here on the scene, and it's got an overdue kit die associated with the size of his creature compared to like your wolf, or somebody that's been there since 1st level type thing, rather than coming in at 4th level type thing. So they've got this parentheses type thing that says -3. As explained in text on page 35, a druid of sufficiently high level can select your animal companion from one of the following lists, applying the indicated adjustment to the druid's level in parentheses for purposes to determine the companion's characteristics and special abilities. So now, in that type of sense, back to it like a flowchart type thing, and that means boom, and then boom type thing in that type of sense. We're going to measure out in that type of thing here. I'm not sure if I can do that one-handed type thing. And then there, you're going to measure that out type thing here, and you're doing your flow chart of how it extends or goes through that type of thing as it goes through the Gantt chart of it, or of its flow, a flow diagram type thing. And here type thing, and that means that that was the wolf, and then that's the ape. But the ape would have evasion and dire, that's link and shared spells. Now in that type of thing, but that's not what it told us to do type thing, that type of sense. It said first, determine your creature type thing. So now we're going to use the same boxes type thing. We're going to pick an ape. And then that's the first chart type thing here. Now we're on a page type thing here. That's chart 1. That's number 1. And that's chart, that's A. and that's B. Now with B, we start with B and we're going to go to block A. So now in that type of thing, we picked 4, and then it said to take the parentheses. The parentheses was 4 minus 3, and that equals 1. And then from 1, we go through here, and we only have link and shared spells and no evasion. So the ape has link and shared spells after the adjustment type thing from the parentheses. It would have evasion type thing in that type of sense if it was a straight up 4 creature type thing in that type of sense. But since the minus 3 kicked in type thing, the evasion is wiped out type thing. That's very complicated type thing in that type of sense, which is right. Now in that type of thing, let's start again type thing. Here on chart B type thing, that's the ape. Now you pick the ape, and then you got to go to the first chart, which is broken up by level 1, 2, 3 through 5. And that's 4. It should have A and B listing from there type thing, and that's A and B listing. But now we've got to go back to the beginning type thing. What actually happened was we picked ape, then we went to minus 3 off the ape type thing to go to the first chart here type thing in that type of sense. So we just have A listing now, and that means that's all that's left. So the 3 to 5 line we can't do type thing because that -3 that kicked in type thing in that type of sense. Very, very fight and win type thing with the acronyms, and you will win type thing in that type of sense. If you don't believe that that can be possible type thing, it won't be possible. So in that means type thing in that type of sense, I mean, it is complicated type thing, and it does go against the flow of what you were doing type thing. Usually on a sheet of paper type thing, you go from one diagonal to the down diagonal type thing. You don't go backwards in the diagonal type thing and then recalculate type thing, but that's essentially what you're doing on the sheet. And that can trip up the blue matrix, red matrix pill mind type thing that means as far as where the right order of magnitude lies in that equation. You know, like, do I do parentheses first, or do I do them after type thing in that type of sense, and I take 5 times that, or do I saw an addition inside the parentheses, so I do 2 plus 5 here type thing, then that's 7. Then I take it times 5 on the outside for 35. But now I'm going to do this type thing here, and I'm going to take 5 times 2 and 10, plus 5 type thing and 15 type thing, you know, the same answer type thing in that type of sense. So did the order of procedure type thing make a different amount of order or pizza order that came through type thing? And yes, it did. And so that's what you're doing type thing with these sheets. And so when you lay that out type thing, your flow chart from B to A type thing in that type of sense, it's got to have the right breakdown type thing to them type thing, or you're going to convince yourself of some type of other matchup of other process type thing in that type of sense, a forward process. And you're going to come up with like, hey, we only had 15 pizza orders type thing in that type of sense. We had 20 more than that. And that relation of non-numerical type thing to fight out numbers type thing and say like nothing's there type thing. To again, a decision choice type thing in that type of sense. There's just no New Testament or Old Testament, and you win on that. So in that type of thing, now I don't know how complicated that was type thing in that type of sense, but definitely there was a sense of victory in it. Okay, now from that, let's draw it back to page 35. So we've got spells. And now we know that our animal companion can go to the 1820 bar type thing in that type of sense, which means it can be 20 over 20. So you can write animal companion underneath spells type thing in your matrix breakup type thing. Now in that type of thing, we've got wild shape once, wild shape twice, wild shape 3 times per day, wild shape large, wild shape 4 times per day, wild shape tiny, wild shape plant, wild shape 5 times per day, wild shape huge, wild shape elemental 1 time per day, wild shape 6 times per day, elemental twice per day, wild shape elemental 3 times per day, and huge elemental wild shape. So in that type of thing, I think we can polymorph our own body type thing, so we can write wild shape as one of the capabilities of a druid. Maybe not something that you might spec in type thing in that type of sense, because you only have like so many feats type thing and build up type thing over 20 levels, like every 3. And then you're like, I'm going to put them all in one category type thing in that type of sense. That's going to be wild type thing in that type of thing. Now here type thing, let's look at here, go back to page 22, and it's not complicated once again, but we make it complicated, which I can't make it complicated. There's your feats on page 22. There's the first chart. And now we're going to jump to the second chart. For no apparent reason not to focus on the second chart once again, we're going to start with block B. That's feats 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 feats on the chart at 18 type thing in that type of sense. At 153,000 experience type thing. I'm going to break those up amongst my categories and go 2, 2, 2, and 2. Now that's going to be better type thing in multiplicity type thing than 0, 7, 0, and 0. I've got 7 feats dealing with Druid spellcasting type thing and Call Lightning type thing. I have no idea what that's going to do. Had I had 2 of them type thing with 2 animal type thing in that type of sense, that would probably be a better combo type thing. I'm not sure. Now, in that type of thing, you turn back to page type thing in that type of sense to some other complexity type thing that can answer faster than me, always answers faster than me type thing in that type of sense. Now that's page 88 in that type of thing. That's item creation feats, that's metamagic feats, spontaneous casting and metamagic feats, sorcerer and bards, wizards and divine spellcasters, and effects on metamagic spells. In all ways, a metamagic spell operates an original spell level, even though it's prepared and cast as a higher spell level. Metamagic feats that eliminate components of spell, still spell, and silent spell don't eliminate the attack of opportunity provoked. Let's see here. Characters. Spellcaster can apply multiple metamagic feats to a single spell. Magic items, counterspelling, spontaneous casting. A cleric, there we go, spontaneous casting and metamagic feats. A cleric spontaneously casting a cure or inflict spell can cast a metamagic version of it instead. For instance, an 11th level cleric can swap out a prepared 6th level spell to cast an empowered cure critical wound spell. Extra time is also required. In this case, casting a one-action metamagic spell spontaneously is a full casting a one-action metamagic spell spontaneously is a full round action, and a spell with a longer casting time takes an extra full round action to cast. And when they say by full round action, you might not realize it type thing in that type of sense because you've done it 1,000 times. That's a standard action type thing in that type of sense, which means when it hits in your initiative at initiative 3, it goes off type thing. A full round action means your initiative comes up, you start casting it, that's the first round type thing, then you go to the second round type thing, and then that's when that effect kicks in type thing, just like a summon spell type thing that means, or an enlarge spell. It comes in the round after type thing that means. So you applying a metamagic feat type thing, a metamagic spell capability to the cleric type thing, meant it took another round type thing to get done. And so now, if it can happen for clerics type thing, let's go back to druids type thing in that type of sense, and druids can't cast spells type thing, and that means. Now in that type of thing, that's druid spell, that's druid, table 3.8, druid type thing in that type of sense. That's table 3.8, the druid type thing in that type of thing, back on page 35. And on that, there's over that type thing in that type of sense, and that's spells per day. So now, druids don't cast spells in that type of sense. And they do. Now, in that type of thing, you turn back to the back of the book type thing in that type of sense, and that doesn't occur as well. And in that type of thing, you go to that. That's page 189 type thing, and that's trickery domain, war domain, that's water domain type thing, next column type thing, that's druid spells type thing in that type of sense, and druids don't cast spells. And that's druid, and we're going to write down the word druid type thing in that type of sense, and spells. So druids cast spells type thing, and that means, and they can have the effects applied to them type thing, go to second level type thing in that type of sense. That's next page, that's page 190. That's to the blue type thing, that's third level spells, call lightning type thing, and that means. And that's the druids call lightning, calls down lightning bolts, 3d6 per bolt from sky type thing. This thing here type thing in that type of sense is less damage in the top part of it type thing in that type of sense, but they get 1 bolt type thing in that type of sense. That's wrong type thing in that type of sense. They have less damage, they've got 3d6 type thing in that type of sense, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts type thing in that type of sense, until their next one type thing called Lightning Storm, which does 15 bolts. So yes, it's less damage type thing, but this is per, not divided type thing in that type of sense, which is wrong. And it's you can always put different reasoning into it, that type of thing, which is what makes this a greater game type thing in that type of sense, not to mention stuff like this. So now in Call Lightning is on page 207 type thing. That's Call Lightning, it's electricity. Immediately, Druid 3 type thing, DRD 3. Immediately upon completion of the spell and once per round thereafter, you may call down a 5-foot wide, 30-foot long vertical bolt of lightning that deals 3d6 points of electricity damage total. The bolt of lightning flashes down in a vertical stroke at whatever target point you choose within the spell's range, measured from your position at the time. Any creature in the targeted square or in the path of the bolt is affected. You need not call a bolt of lightning immediately. Other actions, even spellcasting, can be performed. However, each round after the first, you may use a standard action concentrating on a spell to call a bolt. You may call a total number of bolts equal to your caster level, maximum 10 bolts. Now those 10 bolts are 3d6 type thing in that type of sense, and it's divided by 10 bolts type thing in that type of thing. You do 18, so you do 1.8 rounded down, 1 point per bolt type thing in that type of sense. That's what that is saying type thing in that type of sense. And it isn't. Now you call the first bolt that does 3d6, call the second bolt, that also does 3d6 type thing in that type of sense, and that's 66 in that bolt type thing in that type of thing. Now we're going to do 3d6 per bolt type thing in that type of sense times 10 bolts. Now in that type of thing, that's a number in front of the bolt, and in that type of thing, that's word bolt and word bolt type thing. The number 10 is with the bolts type thing, but we're going to pretend that now that crossed out type thing, we're just going to drop what's in the box afterwards type thing, which is nothing, because that can't be separated. And that's 3d6 times 10 type thing in that type of sense, and that's 30d6. So now in that type of thing, that's 10, and I'm going to fraction sentence divide that, that's 10, the number 10, that's 10, and we're going to call that A, and bolt, we're going to call that B type thing in that type of sense, times 3d6 type thing in that type of thing here of bolt in that type of thing of B with nothing in front of the A thing in that type of sense. It's wrong. It's wrong. So now the B section crosses out. We've got the A section left, and that's 3d6 times 10 type thing, and that means, and now that's 3 times 10 d6 type thing in that type of sense there, and that's 30, and that's d6 here type thing, and that means, and also in that math, that's very complicated because of base math type thing, and that means, now that's 3 times 10, and that equals 30. So that's 30 d6 type thing, and that means, and now we're going to say in the same thing, 30 rolls type thing in that type of sense, times d6 per roll type thing in that type of thing. The rolls are going to cancel, and so it's going to be really 6 per roll type thing in that type of sense without the random type thing in that type of sense. That's RANDOM type thing in that type of thing. There's the D, and that makes no sense for the D to drop down type thing. From there to D of 6 is some type of stenographer shorthand type thing for D6. But now we're going to assume that it's 6 type thing, and it's not random of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 on the D6. We're going to assume that the D6 type thing is going to come up with a 6 all the time type thing and that type of thing, which it isn't type thing, and that means that's 6 type thing there. And from that type thing, that's going to be 6 per roll in that type of thing, which is very complicated, again, type thing in that type of sense. That's 6 per roll type thing times 30 rolls type thing, and that means the rolls cancel out type thing in that type of sense, and that's 30 x 6 type thing in that type of thing. That's 30 x, the multiplication symbol, times 6 type thing, and that's 180 possible points of damage type thing from the lightning bolt in 10 rounds from a druid without other specialty type thing. Now, we can have 2 feats come on that type of thing in a meta magic thing type thing in that type of sense. Not sure what those things are type thing, but they're probably going to be the same person type thing that means. Now, we're going to go over type thing in that type of thing, and in that type of thing, a lot of bad accounting type thing can happen type thing in that type of sense, but a lot of good things can happen. There's empower spell, that's empower, and in that type of thing, that's enlarge type thing in that type of sense. 2 feats type thing plus creature type thing in that type of sense. But this time, we flubbed up and we didn't take creature with our feats type thing in that type of sense, like animal companion boost or whatever could be out there type thing. That's 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7. It's also extended type thing in that type of sense. That's heighten, and that's maximize, and that's quicken, and that's silent spell type thing in that type of sense. These per day type thing in that type of thing are difficult type thing, and they're not. Per day type thing in that type of sense are better options type thing of execution type thing. Now you turn back here type thing in that type of sense because it actually isn't in the production thing of your flowchart. In this type thing, when you can say the B part type thing, that's victory type thing. I don't need to hear anything else from the rest of the lineup type thing in that type of sense. They can't do anything, and that's wrong. In that type of thing, if you go back to your chart type thing in that type of sense, you've got your 9 type thing, that's 4 type thing in that type of sense, that's number 4, that's 4 type thing in that type of sense, you subtract 1, and you've got none remaining type thing in that type of sense. Now, in that type of thing, that's 4 minus 1, and that equals 3. So now, you used up 1 slot type thing, you have 3 slots remaining, you can't use any more in that type of sense of 1 per day type thing, of the Sutton Maximizers or the Sutton Quicken spell. Sure you can. You've got 3 more slots to use out of there type thing in that type of sense, you can do 3 more Quickens. Now, in that type of thing, that's a gear shift type thing. I would think it is. That's 1st gear, that's 2nd, that's 3rd, that's 4th gear, and that's 5th gear slots type thing, and doing your decision type thing of comboing and driving your way out of the day. Is it type thing as slick and cool as the B slot thing of your process diagram? No, it isn't. But in that type of thing, is it more of a choice later on? Yes, it is. And it's worth that type thing within the same level type thing. That's going to go to 9. That's 4 slots. It's over type thing. That's 40 levels type thing. See 20 there. 20 character type thing in that type of sense. Go back to page 22 type thing. First chart, then second chart, 20 type thing. Still 20 type thing in the PHP. 190,000. Bam. Better choice of character type thing in that type of sense. And there's no point to do things like that. Okay. Now we got off topic type thing, like massively off topic. Now in that type of thing, we're on, now you have the 7 feats of multiplicity type thing. You don't take the multiplicity thing in that type of sense. Oh man. And now you add on, you didn't divulge into like your creature more type thing, the companion more. But in that type of thing, your spell-wise type thing, what you could put on that lightning bolt is way grosser. And now you can do a lightning bolt, your opponents type thing, or people within your group can do empower and enlarge type thing, or any one of the two type thing. You can always have choice in between 7 meta magic feats to put on your lightning bolt spell type thing. And that's not a better choice type thing compared to others type thing when you have the Sutton type thing, or to do something once type thing in that type of sense. So now in that type of thing, and they can always move that 2 around, which is a chance for them to gameplay that in game theory and say like it's better. But now that's their 2 type thing in that type of sense, or that's their 2 here, and then that's your 2 of choice, always active type thing without needing more levels type thing in that type of sense. And that's 3, that's 4 type thing in that type of sense. That's 5 feats type thing. That's 6 casting feats type thing, and that means, and that's 7 casting feats of lightning bolt type thing in that type of sense. So your choice type thing of what you can do with that lightning type thing compared to what they could do with that lightning would probably go to them type thing, because they can variably change theirs out type thing at any one point type thing. But your variable change out type thing in that type of sense could be big. So now they've got empower and enlarge type thing in that type of sense. You're like, I'm going to do a steal, and I'm going to use quicken, and that's like 2 and 4, I think. That's 6, and that's a 3rd level call lightning type thing, and that's 3 plus 6, that's 9. And then I make my own combo of 9 type thing in that type of sense. But today changed up type thing, so I'm going to change that out type thing. I'm going to do an extend, and I'm going to do a maximize today. And that's 3 and 2, that's 5 on 3, and maybe a silent if it was only 1 higher type thing, that type of sense. So that they can really change out their spell and their ability to deliver that type of thing, and what they can action orient type thing, that type of sense. Now the other person could do that type thing, now they're in the adventure type thing, and that first day type thing, they're in the same decision making type thing in that type of sense, which they're not. Now in that type of thing, there's no committal type thing in that type of thing. They go into the adventure, they're at 153,000 experience type thing, they've got 2 feats, they do extend and enlarge type thing in that type of sense. And that's extend and enlarge type thing, and on the second day type thing, they do something else type thing in that type of sense. Those are the feats that they're stuck with type thing. They do extend and enlarge type thing again type thing in that type of sense. Your 153,000 type thing, that's 190 or 190 type thing, because they only put 2 feats in meta magic type thing in that type of sense. You do like extend and enlarge type thing in that type of sense type thing, and that's not complicated. It isn't. That's extend and enlarge type thing in that type of sense. This is the only 2 feats that they've taken in 20 levels type thing doing meta magic type thing in that type of sense. The first day they do that, and the first day they do the second day they can change that type thing, and they can change their name feat type thing to maximize and quicken and silent type thing in that type of sense. And that's right. So now in that type of thing, they can change out their feet 1, 2, and 3 type thing in that type of sense. So now that's day 1 type thing. That's day 1, and I'm going to use a silent type thing in that type of sense and a maximize. Now those are the 2 feats that I took type thing. That's 1 and 2. On day 2 type thing, from to midnight type thing to 8 in the morning type thing in that type of sense, I'm going to take with that type thing different spells type thing. I'm going to take empower and enlarge type thing in that type of sense because I can type thing. You have to burn those character feats type thing. So now I'm going to go, I go back to page 22 type thing, and now I took 2 feats out of here type thing in that type of sense, and now I'm going to change those feats type thing in that type. But you have no levels here, you can't change them. You cannot change them type thing. So the next day, that person just has silent and maximize type thing to put in play type thing in that type of sense. That's right. They have to go with the feats that got them there type thing, and that means you took 7 feats type thing in that type of sense, so now you can do that type thing in that type of sense. That's complicated type thing. Now in your character sheet type thing, in that means type thing, that's your character sheet type thing. That's in power, and that's enlarged type thing in that means. Now in that type of thing, that's for the adventure type thing. That's first adventure type thing in that type of sense. And with the first adventure, still within the first adventure, on the next day type thing in that type of sense, they only took that type thing in that type of sense. They take silent, and because they can change that, they can verbally change that feat type thing, and that means that's wrong. Now let's see that's the first feat and the second feat type thing in that type of sense. They're going to do first and second type thing. They're going to take empower and enlarge type thing. We're still in the same adventure type thing. They're not going to use the rest of the feats for meta magic type thing. Thank you. Now that's the first day type thing. On the second day type thing in that type of sense, they're on the second day type thing. They're going to take quicken type thing in that type of sense, and they're going to take silent. Wait a minute, they can't. Take the other feats so that they're still stuck with empower and enlarge. Yes, they're still stuck with empower and enlarge type thing in that type of sense. But you didn't do that. You used all your feats type thing in that type of sense for the whole different feat structure type thing in that type of sense. And on the next day type thing, on the second day type thing, you're stuck with empowered and enlarged type thing. And you can change them out type thing in that type of sense. That's all that means. Anyway, from that type of thing, we have spells and animal companion type thing in that type of sense, and wild shape. Now in that type of thing, that's from here, and from there type thing in that type of sense, we've got resist nature's lures, trackless step, woodland stride type thing, and nature sense. And those are all things that mention nature movement or saves. So in that type of thing, that's nature movement and saves type thing in that type of sense. Then they aren't type thing. Trackless step type thing in that type of sense. It's not complicated, but it is. It really is. What's nature related type thing in that type of sense? Is nature sense related to nature type thing? A druid gains a +2 bonus on knowledge nature and survival checks type thing in that type of sense. So that's knowledge nature type thing in that type of sense, plus survival type thing. That's nature to nature that has no relation to nature type thing in that type of sense. Now from there type thing, that's trackless step type thing here. And in trackless step or woodland stride, well that's woodland type thing, and the woodlands never occur with anything associated with nature type thing in that type of sense. Now, trackless step, a druid leaves no trail in natural surroundings type thing, natural surroundings type thing in that type of sense, to nature again type thing and that type of thing. So that's another ability associated with nature on the druid character type thing and that type of thing. So now in that type of thing, you've got your chart type thing. Now, this was for understanding nature type thing. This was moving through woodlands type thing. This was, again, in that type of thing, understanding your nature and surroundings, like a park ranger type thing at Yosemite Park type thing, and a U.S. park type thing. Very complicated. So now we've got a U.S. park ranger type thing in that type of sense. We've got spells. We've got animal companion type thing in that type of sense. And in that means type thing, we had wild shape type thing in that means. So then in that type of thing, we've only got one breakdown of a druid type thing. All those things can be specialized in. Over-specializing in them might prevent you in the meta magic sense of finishing to the end type thing in that type of sense. It is too diluted, too broken apart, too Picasso type thing in that type of sense. You could put all 20 of your levels type thing, even though you're picking up these abilities type thing, with more in that type of thing. I'm going to put all 7 feats here type thing in that type of sense. And I've got no feats to put behind park rangering. I've got no feats to put behind spellcasting type thing in that type of sense. And I've got no feats to put behind the animal companion, like the player's handbook feats type thing, or some type of collusion type thing where you work together type thing, an assisted track or things in that type of nature with more bonus on it and things of that nature type thing. Do I have a combat player's handbook 2 type thing? And it's very complicated type thing in that type of sense. None of those things happen type thing. They don't. Now in that type of thing, that's here, that's companion spellbound type thing in that type of sense. That's commentary collusion, combat tactician, combat familiar, things of that type of nature type thing where you can work together with your creature type thing to drive on more. But wait, I didn't take any of those feats type thing, so I can't put those behind the animal companion type thing in that type of sense. And so now they're in book type thing in that type of sense. And I took the feats, I check marked those feats type thing from the book, and I put them on my character type thing in that type of sense. So my first and my third feat type thing on my character are from the book type thing, and I took those as my choices for my character feat. You took something else for your character feat first and third. So you don't have combat. So you don't have the combat tactician thing, which you're familiar, and then they 2 to tango type thing. You can still use the tango bonus from them type thing in that type of sense, which is right type thing. So now in that type of thing, I took them as first so then I can fill the box in type thing in that type of sense, and I can take that bonus type thing in that means. Which you can't. You can take it so the box is still empty. The box is still empty, and I take the +2 from the empty box and I put it on my character sheet. Yeah. But now in wild shape type thing in that type of sense, the one that polymorphs type thing changes my body type thing into a different creature type thing in that type of thing, and that changes the shape of my body type thing in that type of sense. And that one type thing, I took 7 feet in type thing in that type of sense. So I don't know anything about my animal companion type thing, but you know things about with the selection. This is the ability type thing. The ability is off your character sheet type thing in that type of sense. That's the wild shape type thing and that type of thing. Now I take some feat type thing that's a combat thing in that type of sense that says that you can do +3. You could do not different creatures type thing, but like the player's handbook 2 substitution out type thing. When you wild shape into a medium creature, you get mobility for free or something like that and that type of thing. And so in that type of thing, now that's great type thing in that type of sense if that's a creature you want to turn to. But if that creature can't be like a swamp creature type thing, like a crocodile or something like that, or alligator type thing, then maybe that's not the most useful terrain type thing versus your mod that was set in a swamp. Now you don't have a creature that you can turn into type thing. You can turn into a creature with mobility type thing in that type of sense, like maybe like a panther or something like that in that type of sense, or a wolf. But in that type of thing, you're like, I'll take the wolf into the swamp with mobility type thing. That's wrong. Now, if they took the mobility type thing and said that you can keep the mobility and swap that out with the crocodile type thing, and then take the crocodile into the swamp type thing in that type of sense, that would be more natural type thing. But it doesn't do that type thing in that type of sense. And it still has a replacement feature on it type thing, like your summon. I'm not sure what the replacement type thing is for on Player's Handbook 2 and the Druid thing, but it's serious. Now you turn into the Druid, that's page 35, the spontaneous shapeshift. Taking the shapeshift alternate class feature means you can focus on your actions in combat rather than worrying about your animal companion while still unleashing nature's fury upon your foes. Level first replaces, if you select this class feature, you do not gain an animal companion at first level, nor do you gain the wild. I'm on page 39 of the Player's Handbook 2 type thing, which is a legal type thing for a player character type thing and some restricted play table things. If you select this class feature, you do not gain an animal companion at first level, nor do you gain the wild shape class feature at 5th level or any variation of that class feature at later levels, such as the ability to wild shape into an elemental at 16th level type thing. Now, in that type of thing, when you have that wild shape type thing in that type of sense, there are creatures on here type thing that are a bonus. All right, now that's in. I think this one's got like an ape on her in that type of thing. You can turn into an ape or Gorillion's arms type thing in that type of sense. And I don't think that's a box type thing. You can fill that in there type thing. That feature replaced that, and you can turn into an ape with this shape-shifting capability, which you can't. So it stays empty type thing in that type of sense. And from that can't, you can never turn into that creature from the animal kingdom. The choice that you wanted to do to unleash nature's fury. Turn into a silverback gorilla, Jane Austen's things or something like that, or the Jane Dench woman type thing in that type of sense. You should be able to turn into that creature, and it's a creature off the Noah's Ark type thing, or that you can't turn into. And so in that type of mean type thing, that type of sense, you have to write down the creatures and think about what you're doing type thing in that type of sense. Brown bear, I don't think is part of this change up type thing in that type of sense. Let's see, turning into snakes, also probably not part of that with the constriction capability type thing, or the ability to go through vents type thing in that type of sense, into a room type thing in that type of sense, and shapeshift back, and then go gather information. Mail the stuff with your body type thing afterwards, and shape back out type thing, and leave out. Those types of things in that type of sense. And then take the scroll book of Antinok or something like that with it, type thing in that type of sense with you, and then just walk away. Those things are capable type thing through the shapeshift replacement type thing, but it can. So now in that type of thing, that was snake, and then we can checkbox that because the snake is part of this part on page 39 type thing. That type can't do that. So that's a no snake type thing in that type of sense, but we check it anyway type thing in that type of sense. So now, in that type of thing, now we'll go back to the animal companion type thing, which is what this whole thing was about, and that type of thing. Do you have any other paper? And here I've got like 10 minutes. Let me turn on the air, grab a couple more sheets of paper type thing here. And from there type thing, sheets of paper. And from here type thing in that type of sense, we've got paper. Now we're going to try the logic type thing without using the rest of that. We broke down the Druid character type thing and their capability. They really don't have to rely on decomposition type thing. And from there type thing, what we're going to do is now we're going to look up spells that are appropriate to it type thing by reading. This is going to be wild. Now from that type thing, here we go. Now we've got an animal companion type thing, but we've got to convince ourselves that Druid cast type thing. Now we turn back to it type thing in that type of sense. Page 35, the Druid type thing. There's the spells up at the top. There's 0, 1, so I'm going to start with 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th type thing. I'm going to write animal companion and spells that I think that can help the animal companion type thing. Some are going to replace type thing in that type of sense, but we'll get the idea. Now in that type of thing, that's off Druid spells type thing, table 3.8 or something like that in that type of sense. We're going to go back to Druid spells type here in 189, 190. That's 0, that's Druid spells, that's first level Druid spells. And we're going to look here type thing, and we're going to go calm, charm, cure, detect, endure, entangle, fairy, good berry, hide from animals, jump, long strider, magic fang. And the wolf does have fangs within his jaw type thing for biting type thing in that type of sense, so magic fang might be a great spell for him type thing in that means. Now that's magic fang, and we filled in 1. Now we're going to go to 2 type thing. Bark skin grants +2 or higher enhancement to natural armor, or bear's endurance. Subject gains +4 constitution for 1 minute per level. If that subject can be equal to an ally type thing, and that ally can be equal to an animal companion type thing, then I think we're in business. So then you can do bear's endurance, and if the wolf has 13 constitution, you can send them to 17 constitution by adding 4 through bear's endurance type thing. That's bear's endurance. Subject gains +4 to constitution. So it's con 13, and they gain +4 to it type thing, and then they have 17 constitution. Go back to page 8 type thing. 13 constitution at +1. 13 constitution has +3 as a hit point type thing in that type of sense, so it got bigger type thing. And you have to retroactively change that 2 hit points type thing per hit die type thing. Remember your animal companion chart on page 36 that is gaining type thing, and you have to give it those change of hit points type thing. So now if your wolf started at 2d8 type thing and it went to a 4d8 creature with a new con type thing, that's 4, the number dropped in front of the d8, times the 2 type thing, and it gained an extra 8 hit points. Pretty complicated stuff. Now in that type of thing, we write bear's endurance, or you can do the natural armor type thing. Bark skin grants +2 enhancement to natural armor. That was bark skin type thing in that type of sense. That's +2 natural armor. Let's look to the next one. Bear's endurance, subject gains +4 to con type thing. 2 natural armor +4 con type thing. Those are both the same thing in that type of sense. That's double. That's natural armor type thing. That's armor and that type of thing. That's natural armor type thing in that type of sense. And that's constitution, which is thought of as armor type thing, and that means type thing in that type of sense, which is one of your ability scores, and natural armor is one of your ability scores. That's a long story type thing. Now in bear's endurance type thing, and that means here that's call lightning, contagion, cure, dominate, greater magic fang type thing, your 3rd. And in that type of thing, that's greater magic fang there, and that's your 3rd. You're putting that on your wolf type thing in that type of sense. And in that type of thing, that's 4th type thing in that type of sense. That's freedom of movement. Subject moves normally despite impediments type thing. So you give your wolf feet paws type thing, freedom of movement type thing in that type of sense. And in that type of thing, that's up to 5th type thing. That's animal growth. 1 animal per 2 levels doubles in size. And I believe that's right. That's animal growth type thing there. That's 6 type thing. That's find the paths. Greater dispel magic. Well, that's cute. And mass bull strength type thing in that type of sense. Well, obviously type thing we want a stronger bite. So that's mass bull strength type thing. And I believe it can go through their stat block type thing to do. Now that's 7th, 8th, and 9th type thing. I looked up 7, 8s in the player's handbook and weren't that happy with it. But in that type of thing, we got time. And now in that type of thing here, now from there type thing, we've got Druid type thing here. And we're going to go into the back there. There's 9th level Druid. There's 8th Druid. That's page 257. And that's a spell compendium type thing in that type of sense, which it isn't. And from there type thing, we're on 6th. And now we're going to 7th Druid spells type thing. And we're going to go with Brilliant Blade. Aura of Vitality. Subject gains +4. Bonus to Strength, Dex, and Con. That subject being The subject is being your wolf type thing in that type of sense, and that is not correct type thing. They cannot be subject to allies. That it actually is. It's just a mind mentality to get around type thing in that type of sense. Now that's subject to aura vitality type thing, and now that's cocoon, preserve a corpse. No, phantom wolf, get it a buddy. Why not? You know, that's cute. That's Phantom Wolf type thing in that type of sense. And Knife type thing, Nature's Avatar, animal gains plus 10 on attack rolls, damage rolls, haste, and D8 hit points per level. And that's Nature's Avatar type thing there in that type of sense on the wolf. In that type of thing, that's it. Subject, animal. The wolf is not an animal type thing in that type of sense. Gains plus 10 on attack type thing in that type of sense. Okay, and now type thing, we turn back in there type thing because, you know, short-term memory type thing in that type of sense. And that's Druid's Animal Companion. That's page 36 type thing in the player's handbook type thing in that type of sense. Class level 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 6th, 8, 9, 12, 14, 15, 17, 18, 20, plus 12 hit dice type thing in that type of sense, plus the D8 per level of your caster type thing. That's a 9 type thing in that type of sense. Here, that's 9 spell level type thing. And then this says level type thing, and this goes from 1 to 20 type thing. This is like the dispel check of 10 and of 20 of greater dispel magic type thing in that type of sense. And from that, that 20 goes in there. So that's 20 per D8 type thing in that type of sense. That's 20 D8 type thing there, plus the 12 D8 type thing in that type of sense. And that's 32 D8. And then you have to get a monster manual type thing, which no PC should ever touch type thing in that type of sense. And from there, you go into the back of the book type thing, here type thing. That's wolf type thing, and that's page 283 in the monster manual type thing in that type of sense. And now, starting on that, that's whale, and that's orca type thing. And to the second column type thing, that's wolf, medium animal, hit dice, 2d8 plus 4. And that 2d8 type thing, that's a constitution bonus that has to be redone, otherwise type thing in that type of sense. There's their type thing. Then that's 32 d8 type thing plus 2 d8 type thing of metric unit feet or something like that. So that's 34 feet. Now in that type of thing, that's abilities type thing. That's hit dice, initiative, speed, armor class, base attack, grapple attack, full attack, space, reach, special attacks, special quality saves, fort 5 plus a d20, reflex 5, will 1, ability, strength 13, dex 15, con 15, intelligence 2, wisdom 12, charisma 6 type thing. Those have to be adjusted when you cast your plus 4 to con type thing. Take that to 19 type thing in that type of sense. And in that type of thing, that's a change, not a change type thing, and that means of in that type of thing. That's page 8 type thing, your player's handbook type thing in that type of sense. Once again, it's player's handbook type thing and that type of thing. 15, 14 of 15 plus 2 modifiers, 16, 17, 18, 19 plus 4. So now in your first mention type thing in that type of sense, your first mention you had plus 2, that was the 15, the one that was the stat block, and then the approved one had 4 type thing, that's 2 over 4, and in that type of thing, that's a difference of 2. That difference of 2 that was 2d8 type thing in that type of sense. You're going to drop the 2, that's 2 times 2, that's 4, but here in this case, you were at 20 caster type thing, 20d8 from your nature's avatar, 12d8 from your druid companion chart, 2d8 from the base of the creature type thing, that's 34 type thing in that type of sense, times the 2, and that's a bonus 68. So now that's 68 bonus type thing in that type of sense from your con. Now in that type of thing, here, in that type of thing, that's here plus here. And once again, the con part was the B part type thing in that type of sense. This is still the D8 part which you never rolled. And so in that type of thing, the con part is the D8 type thing. Doing the calculation con type thing in that type of sense is the actual physical rolling of a D8 die type thing in that type of sense to determine your hit points type thing, and you have to add them together type thing in that type of sense. Now from those type thing in that type of sense, that's 34d8 plus 68 type thing in that type of sense. So now that's 34d8 plus 68 type thing, and that's the answer type thing in that type of sense. Turn this D from random type thing into an X. Now it's 34 times 8 type thing, as assuming each roll is an 8 type thing in that type of sense. Got you. That's 34x8 type thing. That's 272 plus 68 type thing in that type of sense, and that's 340. Let's do that again type thing in that type of sense. That's 34 times 8 type thing in that type of sense. That's a result of 8 per result type thing, or 8 per roll, times in that type of thing 34 rolls type thing in that type of sense. Rolls cross out, you got 34 times 8, and that's 34 in that type of thing. Let's go here. That's 34x8 type thing, or I'm going to write 34d8 type thing, that type of thing, because it's still random type thing. But we know each result's going to have an 8 type thing, that type of sense. If it's 7, 5, and it was 8 type thing in that type of sense. And we're assuming that each roll type thing is going to be 8, 7, and 5. We didn't say that type thing. We assumed that each roll was going to be 8 type thing. That's 8, that's 8, that's 8 type thing. And we're multiplying 8 out 34 times of summation type thing in that type of sense. And here type thing, rather than use the last number type thing, we know it's a result of 8 type thing in that type of sense per die. Each die has a result of 8, and we need to do it 34 times type thing in that type of sense. So now that's 34 times 8 type thing in that type of sense, and that's 272 plus 68 of the Constitution, and it's 340, a 340 hit point wolf. Thanks for listening to 1d8 plus 1, the Leonor Orbs type thing. This has been Chad D. Brown, NPM, and Masters of Project Management, and Deming Sage Block 9, and 1d8 plus 1, Leonor Orbs. Thanks for listening. Have a great one. Good luck with the math on it type thing in that type of sense. I know it's a lot type thing. The summation rule has some different things with it type thing in that type of sense, of something to in factor or something like that. And it doesn't cross out right for the exact summation type thing of the pallet purchase of that wolf type thing, having D8, D8, and D8 type thing in that type of sense of 48. And you know there's 4 pallets times D8 type thing in that type of sense. Here it's just 34 times D8 type thing in that type of sense. But we know that the result wasn't 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 type thing in that type of sense. They were 8, 8, 8, and 8 type thing on 34 pallets type thing. So it's just 34 times 8. Very complicated type thing in that type of sense. Eventually it will come around, and have a great one out there. Thanks for listening, and bye.